All right, so we have come now to the final plenary session. Don't worry, I promise you this coming topic will be very, very interesting. So our last session today is addressing how upstream oil and gas projects capitalize carbon credits to support decarbonization of upstream projects. Now, carbon pricing means putting a price tag on carbon emissions to make industries more mindful of their carbon footprint and encourages them to find cleaner ways of doing things. Carbon pricing will also require a strong and trustworthy carbon market for efficient price discovery. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not seated, I am kindly asking you to please return to your seat as we'll begin our next agenda, which is a panel discussion right now. Thank you very much. Yes. Well, certainly IPA has served into so many functions. We are having insightful discussions, also networking opportunities and interview opportunities definitely as well. I guess we are good to go with the second agenda of the day right now. Now, speakers will tackle important questions like how Indonesia plans to implement carbon pricing and develop its carbon market, how the oil and gas industry can benefit from it, and what can we do to make sure we're getting the most out of carbon pricing and minimize the downside impact like green inflation. But before we dive into any further, let us direct our attention to the screen with this short video.
Instrumen yang dapat mengalihkan biaya akibat perubahan iklim yang awalnya ditanggung pemerintah dan publik menjadi tanggung jawab emiter. Terdapat dua bentuk harga karbon. Pertama, sistem perdagangan karbon. Dan kedua, pajak atas karbon atau carbon tax. Kedua mekanisme tersebut telah tertuang dalam Peraturan Presiden Nomor 98 Tahun 2021. Konsep pajak karbon juga telah diperkenalkan melalui Undang-Undang Harmonisasi Peraturan Perpajakan tahun 2021, walaupun memang belum diimplementasikan. Pada 26 September 2023, Indonesia telah resmi membuka bursa karbon di Bursa Efek Indonesia. Meskipun perdagangan karbon kini sudah aktif dilakukan, namun harga karbon di Indonesia masih rendah, yaitu sekitar $5 per ton CO2. Sebagai pembanding, harga karbon di Emission Trading System Uni Eropa pada tahun 2023 berada di kisaran $90 per ton CO2 dan menjadi komoditas ekonomi yang memberikan insentif untuk pengurangan emisi. Sebagai salah satu sektor yang diharapkan untuk berkontribusi terhadap NDC atau Nationally Determined Contribution, sektor energi telah berkomitmen untuk menurunkan emisi dengan target penurunan sebesar 358 juta ton CO2 ekuivalen di tahun 2030. Namun, alokasi NDC untuk sektor hulu migas saat ini belum ditentukan, termasuk perdagangan karbon saat ini dilakukan secara sukarela. Di lain pihak, Indonesia telah menunjukkan kemajuan signifikan dalam regulasi CCS-CCUS sebagai upaya dekarbonisasi di sektor hulu migas. Pengurangan emisi dari sektor hulu migas yang berbasis teknologi seperti CCS merupakan solusi pengurangan emisi karbon yang bersifat akuntabel, dapat diukur dan dikuantifikasikan secara transparan, dan memberikan solusi penyimpanan karbon secara permanen. Demikian harga karbon yang sesuai dengan nilai teknologi yang diinvestasikan dan kualitas pengurangan emisi yang dihasilkan dapat mendukung upaya-upaya transisi energi di sektor hulu migas melalui inovasi serta penerapan teknologi terkini. Oleh karena itu, perlu kiranya dibuat kebijakan terperinci mengenai peta jalan harga karbon untuk sektor hulu migas. Upaya ini memerlukan penerapan kebijakan yang menyeluruh, termasuk penerapan pajak karbon, sistem registri dan sertifikasi penurunan emisi karbon berstandar internasional, fleksibilitas perdagangan karbon lintas sektoral dan internasional, dan memperkuat peran Bursa Karbon Indonesia agar menarik bagi investor.
So that was the video to set up the tone for the next discussion theme. And it is time for me now to have a glimpse to all of you, to show you the glimpse of who are the lineup of the speakers. that are going to be discussing how upstream oil and gas projects capitalize the carbon pricing mechanism. And this convention has been the place for all of you to discuss in a more dynamic vibe. So please, if you have any questions, you may submit your questions in the question box by simply scanning the QR code appearing here on the screen, and submit the questions. Will be answered by the speakers later on. And before we start with our session, as we move forward, I'm pleased to introduce our moderator for this session. With over 30 years' experience across a broad range of energy-related activities, he leads CCUS consulting at Woodmac, bringing a broad background of senior roles in energy, financial, and consulting institutions, and has a wide network of relationships across the world. Before joining Woodmac, he was EVP M&A and portfolio for Suarga, a pure-play CCS developer with assets in the UK, Norway, and the US. Now, prior to this, he held senior roles in investment banking and consulting. John began his career at British Gas, where he was awarded a scholarship to study chemical engineering. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big, warm round of applause as we welcome Bapak John Story to the stage.
Thank you very much. I think I'll sit down. Firstly, I'd like to say congratulations to you all for this is the last plenary. So well done for staying the course. I'm sure that we'll make it worth your while. I'm going to start by saying a few words about what we'll be talking about, but perhaps before I do that, I can ask my panel to come and join me up on the stage. I'll introduce them more formally ahead of their presentations, but if you guys would like to come up onto the stage. So we have a very distinguished panel. So we have Hadi from the Ministry of Finance, John from Pertamina, Riza from the Carbon Trade Association, and Edwin from the Carbon Trading Development Unit of the Indonesian Stock Exchange. And I'll introduce them all a bit more formally ahead of their presentations. Thank you all. So just to start this morning's plenary, we're going to be talking about carbon pricing policy. This is something that's going to underpin the economic value of carbon here in Indonesia and obviously elsewhere around the world. It will be a key factor in Indonesia reaching its NDC targets. So carbon policy is a critical component, and we'll hear a bit more of this, I'm sure, during the speeches, but the way that the regulations are designed to make this happen are going to be absolutely critical for its success. Now, carbon policies are being introduced all over the world. I was in the US last week, where the IRA has dramatically changed the landscape in terms of the energy transition sector there, providing more of a carrot than a stick via a subsidy for project developments. Europe is a bit different. Europe is very much more a stick. It's a carbon tax. Australia, Canada have a mixture of the two. And these are generally sort of more focused on the compliance markets. And I think everywhere in the world, the voluntary carbon markets are evolving at a fairly rapid pace. And we'll hear quite a lot about that this morning as well. They're all going to be necessary to incentivize decarbonization, which I think we all agree is needed, but importantly at a pace that balances climate needs with security of supply, which we've heard a bit about during the conference this week. From an upstream perspective, and we're going to touch on that, carbon pricing will have a big impact. where we aim for low carbon intensity energy and look at a growing CCUS sector. And we witnessed the news yesterday with Pertamina and KNOC and ExxonMobil announcing plans for a CCS project. So carbon pricing can spur investment in innovation in clean technology. It'll increase the cost of more carbon-intensive industries. It will promote the introduction of finance to the sector and generate revenues for areas that need support in response to what's happening with climate events. I think Indonesia is increasingly progressive and is showing great leadership in this sector. Governments can greatly affect the economics of decarbonization projects in providing a financial value for reducing emissions. Investors need stable regulations in order to commit funds. This has already begun in Indonesia via a presidential decree, but I think we agree, and we'll talk later, that more is needed. In Indonesia, we've started to look at carbon trading and carbon offsets and a carbon tax, as was mentioned just now. So what we're going to look to explore this morning via the panel sessions is what is the Indonesian target and roadmap for carbon pricing implementation. And we'll look at the voluntary carbon markets and talk a bit about carbon taxes. What does this all mean for the way upstream oil and gas can benefit? And finally, what improvements are needed? So I'll stop there and invite our first speaker, which is Hadi Setiawan. I'll get my phone out now to get your biography. So we'll have all of the speakers will give 8 minutes or so, at the end of which we'll probably leave the questions till the end. You have a means to ask questions, and I'm sure I'll have a few questions for the panelists. But Hadi, if you wouldn't mind, do you want to stand up or sit down? It's up to you. So just to introduce Hadi Setiawan, he is the Senior Policy Analyst of Fiscal Policy Agency, the Ministry of Finance. He started his career as a civil servant in 2000 at the Directorate General of Taxes in the Ministry of Finance. He then continued his career as a researcher at the Fiscal Policy Agency in the Ministry of Finance from 2011 until now. Currently, he's a member of the Ministry of Finance's Energy Team, Chief of the Carbon Tax Team at the Fiscal Policy Agency, and Deputy Chief for Tax Expenditure Report Team, etc. He completed his bachelor's degree from the Polytechnic of State Finance STAN in 2005 and obtained his Master of Accounting degree from the University of Gadjah Mada in the year 2010. So please welcome Hadi Setiawan.
Thank you, John. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to stand here in this amazing event, in this magnificent place, talking about the carbon pricing. I will start the presentation with the global condition. You can see next. You can see here in this slide that the planet Earth is facing at least three triple planetary crises, which is the climate change, pollution and waste, and then the biodiversity loss. You can see on the right side that we soaring the climate change during the period of 2000 to 2019, that the global economic losses due to climate change exceed the 2.5 trillion US dollar, or it's around 123 billion annually. You can imagine that in every hour, we lost about 14 million US dollar. And this is even bigger when we talk about the biodiversity loss. Between 1997 and 2011, the world lost estimate 4 to 20 trillion per year in ecosystem service owing to land use change, and even more to 6 to 11 per year from the land degradation. And even the world NDC is still insufficient in addressing the climate change adequately. The graph show that with the current policy, the global GDP loss projection at the end of the 21st century is 17.5% of global GDP. And with NDC, it's still high, still 11.2%. So, and what here. And the global green transition cost is so huge. Many studies said that it needs around 100 trillion until 300 trillion US dollar until 2050. Huge amount. And the gap, how much is the gap? Per year, we need around $1.6 trillion. This is a huge amount, but substantially far from impossible. So what I said that we still can to fund this. And then what Indonesia done? You can see the Indonesia commitment and milestone in tackling the climate change is starting from 1994, sorry. It started with the ratification of the UNFCCC, and then in 2016, we submitted the first NDC, and then ratified the Paris Agreement, and in 2021, that said in the video that we already released the carbon tax regulation, and then the presidential regulation on carbon pricing. It is on the same day, 21st October 2021. We released both regulation, the law and the presidential regulation. And also in 2021, we submitted the updated NDC and LTS LCCR. And we have the vision prosperous in 2045. We estimate that we are on the 5th largest economy in the world in 2045. In 2041, we hope that we already has high-income countries with the GNI per capita around $23,500,000, and on that year, the total population will be 324 million people, with the productive age around 65% of the total population, and the middle income class around 70% of the total population. And this is the Indonesia commitment. I think you're familiar with this slide. We have the target of the NDC in 2030 with the 31.89% of the emission reduction with our own effort, and then 43.2% with international support. And the largest sector will be forestry and energy and transportation. And what Indonesia done, at least we have bold much step to respond to climate-related risks. The first one is carbon pricing, what we are talking right now, and the carbon exchange. Pa Edwin will explore this more. And then the energy transition, what is it? This is the, we have already established the ETM country platform to finance the energy transition using blended finance mechanism. And then it aims to increase the utilization of new renewable energy with the target of in 2060 or sooner, Indonesia will net zero energy. In terms of finance, we support, the government support on the climate budget tagging since 2016, and then we promote the innovative finance through the PPP, Green Sukuk, Green Bond, and then also the blended finance. And also we support the provide the fiscal support with the fiscal incentive, government guarantee, geothermal facility, and other. And this is the carbon pricing regulation. Presidential Regulation number 98/2021 regulate this carbon pricing. What is the purpose? The purpose is to reduce the GHG emission as a policy intervention to address the market failure and to implement the polluters pay principle. At least it consists of two schemes, the trading instrument and the non-trading instrument. The trading instrument consists of the emission trading system. This is the mandatory scheme, the ETS, and then the crediting mechanism or the voluntary scheme. And the non-trading, we have the carbon tax and also the result-based payment. Okay, what about the carbon trading on carbon capture storage or CCS? As you may know that we already have two regulations regarding the CCS. The first one is the Presidential Regulation number 14/2024, just released this year. And then the second one is the Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources Regulation number 2/2023. For your information, we are currently discussing about the derivative regulation of this Presidential Regulation number 14. And then what about the carbon pricing of this? The Article 54 from the President's Regulation 14 said that the implementation of the carbon pricing of the CCS is carried out in accordance with the provision of the law and regulation governing the implementation of carbon price. What it means? It means that the carbon trading on the CCS is also based on the Presidential Regulation number 98/2021. And currently, we are also discussing to amend this Presidential Regulation for what? To make the carbon trading more marketable. Because of what? Because one of the reasons is because the CCS activities require significant amount of funding. That's why the international carbon trading, whether through the voluntary carbon market or the mandatory carbon market, is necessary for implementation. I think that's all from me. I have run out of the time. Thank you for your attention. I give it back to John.
Thank you very much, Hadi. So I'll introduce our next speaker, who is John Ani. So John is CEO of Pertamina New and Renewable Energies, NRE. He's a graduate from Bandung Institute of Technology, graduated the same year as me, but we won't say which year that was, shall we? Earning a BA in electrical engineering. He's had over 25 years of experience in the international oil and gas industry, has led operations and development activities in challenging multicultural environments with a key focus on HSE, people development, value creation and performance. So he started his career in 1992 at Schlumberger as a wireline and logging field engineer, and his career journey took him to various countries including Japan, France and Yemen, and later joining Total E&P Indonesia in 1996. His achievements were recognized with various promotions, and in 2013, John was appointed Vice President of Field Operations at Total E&P Indonesia, managing the production of Indonesia's largest gas producer. In January 2018, he became EVP Operations and Regional Manager of East Kalimantan, and in April 1st, 2018, was named General Manager of PT Pertamina Hulu Mahakam. John held the top position as President Director of Pertamina International EP. He continued his career as President Director from PT Pertamina Hulu Indonesia from May 22nd, 2023 to February this year, and in this year he was appointed as Chief Executive Officer of Pertamina New and Renewable Energy. So with that, I'll hand over to you, John. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for the nice and kind introduction. So, good morning, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. So, thank you for coming for this session. It is an honor for us to be here to share our experience with you. So, just now, you got the point of view from a regulatory point of view. Let me bring you to the practitioner point of view from Pertamina. So, okay, allow me to bring you to the context locally in Indonesia, as already mentioned by Pak Hadi just now, that of course, as a country, Indonesia has quite an ambitious target on nationally determined contribution. And as part of the government institution, of course, Pertamina has a role also to support this objective. As you can see over there, we have an objective of national GHG emission reduction ranging from 32 to 43% by 2030, compared to what we call the business as usual. So it's kind of aggressive and I think ambitious target, and we have to work hand in hand to achieve it. So Pertamina is ready, of course, to support this. And on 2050, you can see also the energy consumption will be much, much higher, as well as the electricity consumption, because this will be in line with the country objective of bringing more prosperity and development. On the right side, you can see on the table is more on the detail, by sector, on which one we have to reduce and how much. And as you can see, mentioned also by Pak Hadi just now, energy sector is one of the biggest things to be decarbonized, and there is a lot of objectives to be achieved over there, in which, in this context, carbon credit and carbon capture and everything could be one of the solutions to that. So the second slide showing, because of course, as I mentioned, Pertamina support the government objective, and we have to strategize ourselves and organize ourselves to achieve it. And recently in 2020, we reorganized our organization into subholding. There is still, of course, the traditional E&P subholding, along with petrochemical, shipping and everything, but Pertamina is also enhancing, strengthening the positioning of the energy business, especially in terms of green energy. So that's the reason why Pertamina Power Indonesia, or Pertamina New and Renewable Energy, is there, with the three pillars objectives over there. The first one on the decarbonization of the operation, how to decarbonize our existing operation. And the second pillar is launching in the new low carbon business. And of course, the third one is the carbon offset, in which in Pertamina, New and Renewable Energy, or we call it PNRE, has been appointed as a carbon market aggregator within Pertamina Group. So what it is, I will explain you in more detail. But once again, Pertamina has a big responsibility on providing the energy security and affordable, but at the same time in the more responsible way, in which it should be greener and replaced with the green energy eventually. Okay, the next slide is allow me also to give a bit of basic things about this carbon trading, in which we have two market, compliance market as well as the voluntary carbon market. In the compliance market, you can see you have a carbon tax, and later on it will create the emission trading system based on the compliance requirement. We can discuss in more detail later on. But on the right side, we have the voluntary carbon market, in which the emitter can define their mitigation project and generate the project carbon credit after verification. So today, what happened in Indonesia is on the right side, based on the voluntary carbon market, and it's already an active market right now. Now, the next one, where can the carbon business, carbon credit project benefit from? So there are two solutions. So technology solution on the left side, and natural-based solution. So in the technology solution, we have the renewable energy efficiency, technological-based removal, like direct air carbon capture, waste disposal, household devices as well, and transport. While on the right side, this is more on all the nature-based solutions like forestry, blue carbon, land use, and agriculture. Now, how to get the credit itself, I will not go into detail, but this is just to show you what happened today in Indonesia. If you would like to claim your project and get your carbon credit, this is the way to do it. So first of all, the project has to be registered in the SRN, what we call the System Registration Nasional, with all the planning, what we call the DRAM document rencana aksi mitigasi, and all the things, and it has to be verified by the certified body, by KAN, and certified also, of course, by the regulatory ministry. And eventually, after the verification, you can get your credit. And then you can start to trade it in IDX carbon market. Now, as far as Pertamina is concerned and PLN is concerned, these are our portfolio today. So, of course, ranging from the geothermal project, we have the one that already active for the moment is the one in Lahendong in the North Sulawesi. We have also the pembangkit listrik by biogas. This also generate the carbon credit, as well as the natural-based solution. Plus, recently we started up one of the biggest single shaft integrated power gas-to-power generation, Jawa Satu Power, 1.7 gigawatt, in which it has a potential of 3.3 ton carbon credit as well. So that's more or less our portfolio. Not to mention, of course, with the IKN, we have also the collaboration to get also the credit over there. So we have been active so far since the beginning of the IDX, and we sold already around almost 600 kiloton CO2 with the pricing already mentioned by Hadi, quite interesting. But do you know how much Tesla benefit last year for the carbon trading? Is around 1.78 billion US dollar. This is from Tesla. And from 2009 until now, they already accumulated 9 billion US dollar only from carbon credit. So you see the potential over there. Now, this also just to explain how upstream can, do a benefit from this. Of course, as we mentioned, we still need the fossil fuel, but it should be greener. So on that aspect, of course, we have to provide affordable energy, but in a sustainable way, which is cleaner. But the demand will still increase. So that's the reason why on the right side, we need to capitalize all the solution possible on how to decarbonize it, like capturing the carbon, and as well as using the carbon credit mechanism. You see also the potential is quite huge on the graphic on the left side, the bar chart showing the demand of the CO2 emission. It will be increasing from 2030 to 2050. It's a big increase. It means that the potential is there in terms of carbon capture or carbon trading. On the right side also, eventually the price with the compliance will go higher and higher, going up. Today maybe it's relatively modest, but eventually, especially when it become a compliance and tax become higher, the price will be higher. So rising in terms of demand as well as the price. Now, these are the things that the upstream business can have a look in detail, especially on the left-hand side, sorry. Upstream business can do energy efficiency, in which it can benefit later on their carbon credit that could be traded in the carbon market, as well as doing the carbon capture. And this is the things that upstream business is doing, including Pertamina as well. We have a lot of projects going on. One of the biggest one is Sunda Asri with a huge potential of carbon capture. On the right-hand side, it's in our side, so we could help you on, doing the natural-based solution, as well as other tax-based carbon credit, and we could help also to trade your carbon credit later on. So we provide the one-stop solution for that. Now, coming back to the benefit of the credit for your company, obviously, these support the sustainability goals, as I already mentioned in the beginning, enhancing the image and brand of the company. That's for sure that it's not a greenwashing kind of thing. It's really a green effort to be a responsible energy company. Market differentiation as well, and attracting investor as employee as you become, a cleaner energy provider. And this is also part of the risk mitigation. And the final slide, sorry for taking your time, is first of all, in terms of market, there are two types of market, voluntarily and compliance. Today in Indonesia is more on the voluntary basis, but maybe later on it will be on the compliance side. Capitalizing the carbon business will be the balance between providing the sustainable, affordable, and affordable and secure energy, and in sustainable way. So I think this is the things that we need to do to make sure that energy is still there, affordable, but in a sustainable and responsible way. And you could see also that there is an upward and very progressive demand as well as pricing in carbon business. So we can see the challenge in decarbonizing, but see also as an opportunity to create the carbon credit and to sell it to become one of your revenue resources. And a lot of effort can be considered as a upstream player. And Pertamina New and Renewable Energy is here. We have a lot of experience. We provide you also a single-stop solution if you need in this kind of activities. So with that, thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, John. So we're halfway through the speakers, and I think it's very clear that whatever this is, it's not going to be simple. There's some very complicated concepts involved in this. Fortunately, we have Riza Suarga to help us to shed some more light on this, our next speaker. Riza is chairman of the Indonesia Carbon Trade Association. He's the first chairman of the carbon team there. He's led the standardization and certification permanent committee prior to this, as well as sustainable consumption and production. He was later appointed as the vice chairman of Eastern Indonesia Economic Council, while together with the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, he formed the Eco-Label Desk. Besides being the chairman of Indonesia Carbon Trade Association, he now also belongs to the Ministry's Board of Experts of the Technical Committee for Environmentally Friendly Technology Verification and the Special Committee for Public Facilities Services Standards. He believes that managing natural resources, most challenging responsibilities are social issue resolutions. Dr. Suarga earned his bachelor's degree from Ohio University in economics, double majored in mechanical engineering, and after finishing postgraduate in management from Trisakti University, he acquired a PhD in resource management and anthropology from the University of Indonesia, plus digital disruption advanced courses from Judge Business School, University of Cambridge. So please welcome Riza Suarga.
Thank you, John. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I would like to thank IPA for inviting me. My colleagues, Pak Hadi and Pak John already explained a lot of things about carbon market in terms of the regulatory and the potential. I think my life is a bit easier to explain, maybe just a bit additional to what they have explained. So a bit telling us about IDCTA, Indonesia Carbon Trade Association, is actually a very baby association, only 2 years old, but the members are practically veterans. Pak John's company also part of our member, and also PLN, and most of the carbon owners and developers are basically our members. Last year we have a very prestigious conference called Carbon Digital Conference in Bali, 2023. Pertamina and RE also attended and participated. Thank you for that. We have, I think, more than 274 participants showing up, all carbon players, carbon investors, despite of all the regulatory hurdles or consolidating period that we have for the Indonesian part. Thankfully, we have a very full attendee showing up from almost 50 countries all over the world that shown up in Bali. This year, we supposed to have another one early December, and hopefully our new president will open the conference. This is just a bit of the illustrations how the conference look like. And this is probably might interest you a bit. This is what we have put a model on how carbon price look like in terms coming from nature base. The left side is the the Rimbaraya project, and the right one is the Katingan vintage. So as you can see, I think our colleagues also asked me, even John asked me about how the carbon price look like. In voluntary carbon price at this moment for dedicated projects, basically can be sold for still around 8 to 10, some even $14 per ton in voluntary carbon market. But this is actually dedicated project as Indonesia can provide. Thankfully, Indonesia so far has been given the best high quality ones in compared to other parts of the world. This is what the potential that IDCTA has drawn up. We have around 12 million hectares already application on the lining. Altogether, there are 480 projects. This is nature-based I'm talking about, that can deliver somewhere around 240 million tons per year. That's quite significant numbers in compared to the NDC target that we have for Indonesia. In yearly basis, we have around 83.4 million tons, which is we have opportunity to sell our carbon credits, be it with corresponding adjustment or without corresponding adjustment, around 150 to 160 million tons per year. And this is what the framework looks like. If Pak Hadi also a bit mentioning about the regulatory in terms of the fiscal policy, I'm trying to explain how the MOEF has tried to implement the presidential decree into the implementation regulations. Every decision comes from, it's a bit small, but every decision comes from the process on the progress of the CMA decision, which is the climate mitigation action in the framework of Paris Agreement and UNFCCC. So they are trying very hard, and I have to appreciate our colleagues from the government, especially the MOEF, for trying to regulate and implement. I know a lot of market players a bit nervous about the progress and the speed of the progress, but I see the Indonesian government is very serious. Unlike maybe I haven't seen any other government that really spending time and seriousness towards making carbon ecosystem regulated and supported. And this is just a glance of what the earlier slides. So it's all articulated from decisions of Paris Agreement itself into and translated into the regulations of the Indonesian government. This is also what the scheme that should be implemented if we want to sell carbon credits using corresponding adjustment. And this is also another matrix of what the previous slides looks like. And this is what the basically the continuation part. I would not explain in detail. So the principles of selling carbon credits is always about governance, about how the MRV, about how integrity is supposed to be. We call it in Indonesia, we are selling barang goib, or intangible goods, right? So this is, the integrity part has to take place. So what IDCT has prepared, I think this is the last question that everybody would like, because the assignment that John gave me is how then Indonesian carbon credit can tap in and enter the international market. So we have prepared two joint task force, one with gold standard and the other one with FERA, which is the most predominant standard that the market preferred. So I think for those of you, the upstream industry that wants to buy or to cooperate with Pertamina and RA, we have the avenue already to set up. And hopefully SRN and the international standards can be able to find the synchronization, the alignment, and also how the validation can take place. So everyone's here can buy carbon credit from Indonesia in a high quality, but also acceptable in the market. I stop there for now. I hope I didn't waste my time. Thank you very much, and we continue with question and answer. Thank you.
That timing was perfect, absolutely to the second. So we have one more speaker, last but not least, Edwin Hartanto, who's head of Carbon Trading Development unit of Indonesia's stock exchange. So Edwin obtained his bachelor's degree from the Faculty of Economics and Business from Universities Indonesia, and his master's degree of Economics of Development from Erasmus University in Rotterdam. He's a finance and economics enthusiast who studied finance and economics. He's experienced in the financial sector. There's a theme emerging here. With interests lying in the capital markets, carbon market banking, asset valuation, macroeconomics, and ESG. So over to you, Edwin.
Thank you so much, John. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, so I think the good part of being the last speaker is I don't really have to say anything else because all the three gentlemen over here already said everything about the carbon pricing and how it works, how the mechanism. But I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the Indonesia Stock Exchange, or the IDX Carbon, the Indonesia Carbon Exchange, the first and the official and the only official carbon exchange of Indonesia. But I think since I think everyone already said everything about the carbon pricing, so I'm going to skip a little bit of slides over here and there. Well, I think, each one of you already aware of how big the responsibility do we have on this chart, that energy sector is the biggest contributor of carbon emission in the world. So I guess this is very relevant for us to try to tackle this issue more seriously. So I think we can start with the carbon pricing. The concept of carbon pricing is the polluter pays principle. So we try to disincentivize those who emit high emission, and then we try to incentivize those who can reduce or remove the carbon emission from the atmosphere. So this is quite simple or quite easy concept to grasp, but the implementation, we do really need a lot of regulation in place for this concept. So that's why the Presidential Regulation number 98 in 2021 became the first, like the umbrella regulation for this carbon economic value or the carbon pricing. And the interesting part is, for Indonesia NDC, we can see from the graph that two of the biggest sectors that should spearhead this effort are the land use and the energy sector, in which Indonesia produces a lot of emission from these both sectors. Then, from the Ministry of Environment regulation, it mentioned that there are two mechanisms on which we can try to do carbon trading. The first one, obviously, the emission trading system or the emission quota. This is the permission or for the company to emit certain amount of emission. And then the other one is more on the voluntary side, is the carbon credit or the carbon offset. Well, the three gentlemen over here already tell you about these two mechanisms, so I think I'm gonna skip this one, and here we go. Well, based on the regulation or law number 4 in 2023, the law mentioned that the carbon unit defined as securities. So carbon unit in Indonesia at least is not treated as commodities. Brazil is another country who adopt this kind of approach also. And the interesting part about this law is, because of this law, OJK or the Financial Service Authority is the one who are mandated to oversee the carbon exchange. So we, Indonesia Stock Exchange, apply for the license so that we can support Indonesia effort to achieve NDC by establish Indonesia Carbon Exchange or IDX Carbon. But even though the carbon unit defined as securities, by essence, it's different from our usual securities such stock and bond. Maybe I would like to highlight, the first one is about the retirement, because you cannot really retire stock or bonds, but you can retire the carbon credit so that you can claim the offsetting process. And the last thing is, you cannot really expect future cash flow from the carbon unit that you buy. It's different from stock, which you can expect some kind of dividend, or you can expect some coupon payment from bonds. But the carbon unit, you cannot really expect the future cash flow from that. So this one is pretty interesting because Indonesia already holds a really, really huge potential for the carbon removal and carbon reduction. Like for the carbon capture and storage, we got like 12 gigatons of potential there. For the nature base, we got 100 of potential, not to mention about the renewable energy or electric vehicle. And I think because of this potential, a lot of exchanges, carbon exchanges already established in other parts of the world. But I think we can really say that Indonesia has a good chance to be a global hub for the carbon exchange because a lot of supplies will coming from Indonesia. So about the IDX carbon, what is the value proposition that we bring to the table? Well, the first one is price transparency, because previously, if you try to trade the carbon credit or carbon offset all around the world, you cannot really, you are doing it bilaterally, right? So you cannot really know how much is the price. But on the exchange, you can see how high or how low the market price really is. And you can really see like how many want to buy, how many want to sell. And one of the most important part is we are providing the lowest fee even in the world. Well, maybe we can ask Riza. Maybe Riza previously, if he want to sell his carbon credit, maybe the broker might charge you 10, 15%, Riza, or maybe even 20%. We at IDX Carbon, we only charge 0.11% of fee. So it's like lowest of the low. And we are doing that because we are not thinking about the profit for our own company, because we want to support this market from very beginning. So this is the concept of how the carbon trading works in Indonesia. Well, the carbon exchange or IDS carbon is only the secondary place. Well, we can see the primary place or the primary market is belong to the SRN. The system belongs to the Ministry of Environment and Forestry. So each and every carbon project in Indonesia should be registered through this system or to the SRN system before they can trade it anywhere, everywhere. And then we have 4 available markets at IDS Carbon. We provide these 4 markets so that the buyer and seller can have huge flexibility. Well, maybe I can try to explain. The regular trading is the one where you can buy and sell carbon credit just like how you buy and sell a stock, for example, where you can see it's a continuous auction. And then the negotiated one, if it's a bilateral market for you, if you already have your own buyer and seller. And then for the auction part, well, if this is the part where you can auction your carbon credit so you can have the highest price possible. And then the marketplace is where the carbon project can list their carbon credit and then they can sell it at any price point they want. This is usually for the premium carbon project in which they do not want to be in the same bracket, they do not want to be traded in the same market price with the other project. They can put it in the marketplace. And today, we have Pak John's project actually in the marketplace as the first and the only project available at the marketplace of IDS Carbon. And since the screen already said time's up, well, I think I'm gonna try to close my presentation. But well, yeah, about the carbon tax, Pak Hadi already covered everything. For the right, so I think there's some question. From this carbon trade in which some companies already said that, well, you know what, we are trying to not buy carbon credit because it will make us scrutinized, you know, by the NGOs or everyone. But I can say that Oxford Principle for Net Zero, even SBTI, is actually, they are actually encourage companies to support this as long as they are supporting high quality and high integrity carbon project. Same thing with World Resource Institute, same thing with CDP. All these organizations actually encourage and support the carbon project as long as a high quality and high integrity one. So the last one, I think the requirement to be user of IDS Carbon is very easy, but I can highlight this part that until September of 2024, there will be no registration fee for the users. And there will be no dormant fee for the user. If they want to open the account and do not want to buy or sell, there will be no dormant fee. There will be no membership fee, there will be no annual fee. So even if you have project and you want to be listed, there will be no listing fee. So we are waiving all these fee so that we can support the market and we can support all of you who want to buy and sell. So last part is I'm inviting you to join IDS Carbon because eventually I think your company will benefit from it, or at least you will be impacted from the future policy. And it's better to be in the ecosystem early from the beginning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Edwin. We've got some time for Q&A. I guess just before we do that, I'd just like once again to ask you to show your appreciation for the panelists, for Hadi, John, and Riza, and Edwin, for a very interesting set of talks. Thank you. Perhaps I can start the Q&A, and for no other reason than that Edwin's sitting next to me. One question for you. So when we're looking at carbon offset projects, we're looking at the kind of focus on high quality and high durability. Is there a concern, do you think, in the community that without proper accreditation, there's a risk that companies will be accused of greenwashing in some of these projects?
Okay. Yeah, thanks so much, John, for the question. Yeah, this is I think, a rising issue on this space, because a lot of companies, actually we've talked with a lot of companies, and they said that, you know what, we want to avoid this because we don't want to be labeled as greenwashing. But if we try to take another side, another angle of this statement, there's actually this term called greenwashing, right? Greenwashing is when a company is actually too scared to, announce their effort to do a good thing for the environment, because they don't want to be put under scrutiny by the other organization. And this is a very dangerous term, because if we keep calling every company as greenwashing, there's nobody want to support green project at the end. So the point of this greenwashing, if we want to avoid greenwashing, is not to avoid carbon market or carbon trading, but to put transparency behind the statement. So for example, if one company said that they want to be a company who achieves net zero in 2050, they want to be a carbon neutral in 2030, they should put the trajectory, the strategy, and all the activities they have. And another thing is that if the company actually really want to support this, I think they should announce like what is the thought process, what is the full decarbonized strategy for the company. So I think one thing for sure is greenwashing is actually a dangerous part, equally with the greenwashing.
Okay, we've got some questions coming through now. So this one's to Hadi. You probably see the question there. Will some of the carbon pricing costs be passed on to consumers? If so, how much will be passed on, and what strategies do the government or businesses have to maintain consumers' ability to pay while transitioning to a more sustainable system?
Thank you, John. Okay. The question is, would it be the carbon pricing passed to the customer? It depends on the sector. For example, for the electricity, the carbon pricing, we put the carbon pricing for the electricity. Right now, the system of the electricity in Indonesia, the tariff is set by the government. So, for example, 1 kilowatt hour is around 104,000 rupiah. And it is already set by the government. If the PLN or if the PLN to produce the electricity is above the price, then the gap will be subsidized by the government, subsidized and compensation. So, in terms of the electricity sector, the carbon pricing right now, currently, cannot be passed to the customer, except the government changed the regulation, said that for the carbon pricing, it should be passed to the customer. Then it can be passed to the customer. But with the current regulation, it cannot. That's for the electricity. For the other sector, for example, if we done the carbon pricing for the cement industry, for example, for the steel and etc., which is the tariffs not set by the government, then yes, it can pass to the customer. That's why the government, the related ministry and agency, considering a lot regarding this. We consider about the economic condition, we considering about the inflation, we considering about the ability of the consumer. So if we do the carbon pricing to this sector with the tariff not set by the government, we consider all of those things. So when the exact time to impose this carbon pricing to those sectors.
Thank you, Hadi. Next question to John. Short question, but I guess it's not an easy one. So is the carbon credit at the current price generated from geothermal plants sufficient to attract investments in geothermal And I guess the obvious follow-up question is, if it's not, what would be?
Thank you very much for the question, John. Before I answer the question, I would like to repeat again that I think with the, the affordability of carbon credit and the possibility of selling it is, you can see it as an opportunity, especially for upstream business. If you, let's say, we are talking about energy efficiency, you do an energy efficiency to decarbonize the business, at the same time you generate the carbon credit, in which you gain also additional revenue. So this is also what happened in geothermal. Well, to talk about economics on geothermal, of course, there are a lot of factors, including, of course, everybody knows very well the off-taker and everything. In general, we could still have a geothermal economic project. As you can see, we're still developing it. Today, we have installed capacity under our installation is around 672 megawatt, but we are increasing it today, and by 2025, our ambition will be over 1 gigawatt of the capacity. So the carbon credit and carbon trading helping this project actually. So thank you very much to Edwin and team. We've been very active. Of course, Riza, that already promoting a lot of things to have this rolling out and working fine. And of course, from the regulatory point of view, Hadi, thank you very much to make it work, because it becomes a kind of additional revenue for us. So it becomes the project more economics compared to previously. So you can put this business model to any other things, including in upstream part. So for that reason, we have a lot of experience. We can help you. We can provide some solution and as well as consultation. So feel free to contact us. But once again, as you can see, this is a big opportunity. You have all the system already works there, and it's the demand will growing. And we hope also with the help of Riza and team, alignment with international market, to attract also investor from international, in which it become the market more attractive in terms of pricing as well as the buyers.
Thank you. We have another question for Hadi, but in the interest of smearing it around more fairly, I'm going to pick on Riza with a question. I guess following up a bit from what John was saying, could you add a bit more flavor on it? We focused a lot on Indonesia here, but how does that sit in an international context? And how does Indonesia internationalize the opportunities it has here?
Thank you, John. I think, yeah, it's an interesting question, but I like to collaborate and elaborate some of the questions also that has been raised to Edwin and John and also Hadi. One thing about carbon trading and carbon credit per se, I think the definition of carbon credit itself is how we can come up and we solve the climate change issue using market mechanism. So, but then there is an evolving process. There are also avenues for non-market mechanism that also already explained by Hadi. What I'm trying to refer is achieving NDC, for example. It's not merely or within the framework of UNFCCC itself. It doesn't necessarily have to be fulfilled by the domestic or the people of that country alone. It can be also being supported by other nations or other companies. So in voluntary carbon market, for example, we don't need corresponding adjustment. We don't need to transfer the accounting of reducing emissions for the NDC of the particular company where the domicile of that company is. Take a look, for example, of BP. BP can buy carbon credits from Indonesia, and it doesn't mean that it will be accounted for UK's NDC. So this is something that BP can contribute to whatever that John, for example, the projects of the geothermal that he's done. I think BP can always buy offsets from Pak John's and still can able to meet the ESG target, the expectation of the stockholders of BP, while at the same time also creating the whole ecosystem of mitigating climate change.
Thank you. It does sound like a great opportunity for Indonesia, I think. We have a question here for Edwin, but I'm also going to ask this of Hadi too, because we talked about it earlier. So the question to you, Edwin, first is, what are the sets of regulation needed to improve the role of IDX carbon in terms of the number of transactions and price yielded? But I think for Hadi as well, just after Edwin's responded, just to talk about how we can look at making regulation more market-friendly. So maybe Edwin, you first.
Right, thank you. I think we're talking about how we can improve the supply side and demand side of it. From the supply side, at this time, I think there are only 2 projects available on the SRN of Ministry of Environment, which is Pak John's project, which is geothermal power plant, and then the other one is a gas power plant belong to the PLNs. So I think we still need a lot of supplies, and for the lot of supplies, I think we're still waiting for the forestry project, in which Riza is one of the project developer here, and we're still waiting for all the sticks and carrots for this industry, because when we're talking about the sticks and carrots, like what is the benefit for the company who's buying this, and what is the benefit, let's say, for the companies who are supporting the green project, and on the other hand, what is the stick for the companies which disregarding this industry altogether. The other thing is we're still waiting for the international market regulation. So the presidential regulation number 98 actually already said that this carbon trading can be happen inside domestically and then internationally. So the umbrella regulation is there, but we still need the technical regulation on how this carbon credit can actually sold to the foreign or to the international communities, because the more the demand there is, the price in return will also improve. And if the price is improving, I think we can see that there's a lot of incentive for the companies from the supply side to sell, because the price is getting better and better. And for the companies who, let's say they are the emit high carbon emission, if the carbon price is high, they will think more about how we can avoid to pay this. Maybe we can reduce our own emissions. So I think the stick and carrots and then the international market regulation is important for this industry. And maybe Pak Hadi would like to add some more on that.
Thank you. And just to throw that one over to you, Hadi.
Okay, thank you, John. Thank you, Pak Edwin. Okay, how to make the regulator more market friendly? I agree with Pak Edwin said that it should be look at the supply side and the demand side. I think Pak Riza or Pak Anis already told us that we have a lot of potential carbon credit especially from the CCS. To what I read before, it's around 12 gigaton. From Pak Edwin, yeah? From Pak Edwin, okay. 12 gigaton. So that's the supply for sure. And then the demand, what can we do about the demand? We are from the Ministry of Finance is push or support the demand from the outside actually, not from the internal of Indonesia, but more on the international funding. So that's why the international carbon trading is needed for this. Pak Riza said that for the voluntary carbon market, it don't need the corresponding adjustment. But okay, Pak, we know that there are debate on this, Pak. So some entities or some people said that it should be on the corresponding adjustment. But yeah, there's debate on that. But if that happen, if what Pa Riza said, I think it's a very good point. Yeah. So we just have to make that these carbon credits more transparent, more credible, and etc. So everybody happy. The Indonesia happy, get the money from the international, and then we know we have the more good environment, more climate change friendly, and so on.
Thank you. We're almost out of time, and we seem to be out of audience questions. So I've got one last question for all the panelists, and it's an open question, really. It was just to go one by one, just to, I guess, sense your sentiment of the trajectory of how things are going in Indonesia, and your sense of optimism for how this will all turn out. Start with you. Yes, we'll just go along the lines.
Okay, right. I think from my perspective, Indonesia can have a huge potential to be the global hub of the carbon trading, and we cannot let this opportunity slide, because Singaporeans want to be global hub, Hong Kong want to be global hub, London, everyone wants to be global hub, but Indonesia actually have a lot of potential as a supplier, and even some studies said that Indonesia can be a supplier of 20-30% of global carbon credits. So I think it's a very optimistic, but we still need support from the industry players and then from the regulation part of it. So yeah, that's my perspective.
I think my sense is just two things. Number one, I like the word that always being addressed by our President Jokowi, work, work, work. I can interpret that execute, execute, execute. We've been talking too much on the discourse of saving the planet, climate change, but so less that we have done. So at least I think the debate needs to stop, and we need to act now. Cooperation both domestically and also internationally. Pak Hadi also mentioned about how he likes in the part of the financial ministry that want to attract more international players, which the avenues of that is clear. There are still some debates, some arguments internally regarding selling carbon credits overseas must only have corresponding adjustment, which is not, but I think that part can be discussed internally, hopefully on the amendment of the presidential decree, and all the implementation regulations can cover that. Thank you.
Yeah, from my side, I think we have all the reasons to be optimistic. First of all, you can see here also, I think the discussion between the regulatory bodies as well as the practitioner and association is quite fluid, right? So it's quite challenging. We'll not solve the things overcome. But as you can see in the topics of IPA today, there are some keywords over there. Advanced sustainable energy security. Once again, as a country, we need energy security because we still develop it. We still have a lot of ambition to progress and to improve our prosperity. And for that, we need energy, but in sustainable way. In some of the industry, we have all the industry growing up as well, and some can have a solution to reduce their emission, but there are some in which it's hard to abate. And when this comes to the hard to abate sectors, CCS can be a solution, carbon trading can be a solution as well. So if we are talking about net zero in which no more emission, it's be the balance, then we need to balance with something. And one of the solutions is, of course, the carbon credit, along with later on, if there is already a regulation, strong regulation, tax and everything, is even better. As I say, you can Google, Tesla already benefit this in huge way. Last year, they got 1.78 billion US dollar only from carbon trading. So you can imagine this is an opportunity for more sustainable energy, but at the same time, a business opportunity to create additional value for your business, including contributing to the prosperity of the country. So once again, thank you very much for the support from the government and association to make it work and to progress in more better and dynamic way. Thank you very much.
Okay, last from me. as we know that the climate change is real. We've already seen the risk of this, and it is how we can avoid that, or how can we minimize the effect of the climate change. It needs not from the government, but also from all the stakeholders, from the society, from the businessmen, and also. So it needs a lot of work from all of us. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, I think that's what's called finishing on a high. I think that was a very optimistic, upbeat set of messages. So I think with that, I'd just like, once again, if you could show appreciation for the panelists. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. John Story, and what an intriguing session we had just now. This is actually the final round of the plenary session. Now I'd like to invite everyone to come forward, taking the center stage. As a token of appreciation from the committee, would like to give mementos to all the speakers and moderator. And for this, I'd like to once again invite Ibu Kathy Wu to the stage to present the mementos to our speakers and moderator. So just now we had a discussion on how upstream oil and gas projects capitalize the carbon pricing mechanism, and that concludes the whole series of plenary discussions for the past 3 days up until this morning before lunchtime. Once again, thank you all speakers for all the insights, and moderator, Bapak John Story, thank you so much. Let's take this moment for a photo opportunity. Now, why don't we all smile to the camera under my count? 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause to our moderator and speakers on this last session. Thank you very much, and you may all return to your seats. So, ladies and gentlemen, participants, as we wrap up the day 3 actually of the 48th IPA CONVEX 2024, unfortunately we have come to the end of this 3 days plenary session. And indeed, we have witnessed meaningful discussions that have ignited new perspectives on how it will be a very, very interesting journey for Indonesia and countries in Southeast Asia region through this transition moment to the renewable energy later on era. And although it might be challenging, but it certainly is full of opportunities for Indonesia and the region as we continue to advance to aim sustainable energy security and reaching the net zero emission target. And Indonesia, of course, with its abundant potential of oil and gas, will be a significant player, especially with the latest discoveries in oil and gas. And as upstream oil and gas projects, while competing to mindfully emit, can always find ways to help reduce the CO2 emission, one of them through CCS or CCUS, and capitalized opportunities in carbon credit. And this decarbonization solution, which is CCS and CCUS, can keep 1 million tons CO2 and also enable job opportunities and, of course, investment to the country. And with government firm policies, with our advancing collaborative effort as well from all stakeholders, we should be in the right path to sustainable energy security. So finally, this wraps up plenary session for today, and also the final discussion that we have today in the plenary discussion sessions. And I just want to say thank you to all the speakers and moderators who have been doing such a great role in the stage today. Hopefully all the insights are not only just to be taken notes for, but also to be taken actions in the future. Finally, I am Rahma Alia. I have to sign off for now, but I would like to invite everyone for the closing ceremony later on after after lunchtime, and hopefully this IPA will remain as a remarkable moment for all of us that attended here. Thank you as well, all exhibitors, and hopefully you all have a restful afternoon, and see you soon on the closing ceremony. Good afternoon.